Welcome back, viewers. Before the break, we were actually talking to Mr. Rois, our success story today. Thank you for the information you've given. I'm sure we've had some good insight into how he became successful. We will be coming back to you, and please feel free to join in. We're going to now go to Mathew. Mathew, our property expert. Mathew, last time on our show, Helen Wilson, your PA, came and gave us an insight into your business. Matthew, you're here today to obviously advise our viewers on how to get onto the property ladder. I hope they find that valuable, because I know many people out there who wants to go into the property ladder but are finding it difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. Matthew, could you tell us a bit about yourself, a little background about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I basically fell into the property market in 1984. Like most people, desperate to buy my own home, and on my 18th birthday I put down a £100 reservation fee with a company not too far from here called Astra & Company to buy my first property, which was an off-plan studio flat. At the time I was a postman, and in a very short period of time of them building the property, the equity growth was more than my actual wages. So that encouraged me, and I thought to myself, well, I can have a job and also I can have investments in the background, and that encouraged me to buy my second property. Back then there was no such thing as buy-to-let mortgages, so you either got a commercial mortgage or you got a residential mortgage.
Okay.
That was your two options that you had available. And I was fortunate to meet a mortgage broker called Bill Mifflin, who helped me move from one property to 6 very quickly, utilising their equity in existing properties by being able to remortgage, take the money out, use that as a deposit in the next property and roll it on forward from there. Which was very good until the recession of 1992. I had all of my properties inside what is now the M25. And the London market in 1992 was hit dramatically. Obviously changes around the world affected our finance market. We saw lots and lots of empty properties. A huge recession hit the UK. And caused me to question whether I was doing the right thing. All of my properties slipped into negative equity. It was a difficult time to rent properties out. We'd even moved into some commercial property in Barnet High Street. We had some offices above a motorist discount store that we couldn't even give away because things were so bad. Wow. We couldn't actually just to have a tenant. We were willing to let people take them for free, and we couldn't even find anybody to do it. So that changed my strategy because I'd always bought the traditional way, buying for equity growth. So obviously having a situation where you were mortgaged as high as you possibly could be, hoping that the next year the property would be worth more than what you bought it for. 1992, 93, 94, 95 proved that that wasn't going to be the case. The market kept falling, and we were struggling to get mortgages, struggling to remortgage, etc. I in fact at one point had a bridging mortgage, which is basically where you borrow money against another property at a higher interest rate because the bank has a higher risk, enabling me to buy another property. And at that point I actually got stuck with a 27% interest rate, which
27%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were terrifying times, to be fair. We came close to packing it in, should I say. But it changed my outlook on the property market of moving from equity growth, moving to cash flow. And I've been doing that ever since. Cash flow, to me, is the most important part of your property.
Cash flow is king, isn't it? Cash
Very
flow
much
is
so.
king.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the same case in the property business as well.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously can't pay your bills with equity. You can show off about how many properties you've got and how much equity you've got, but it doesn't actually pay the bills and keep the wolf from the door. So the strategy changed. We looked for buying more. It was about the area more than about the property. So about the rental demand. Were we going to be able to rent the property out from the minute we bought it? And were there going to be people scrambling for our property? And then that enables you to be able to increase your rents. And that's the real key to your cash flow, because if you've got poor rent, poor yield, you're going to struggle if interest rates go up. So the key's in the research of the rental market of the area where you're considering buying.
Okay. And now, I mean, obviously, you've bought 2 properties you've just mentioned at that time, and you've continued, even though you've been through all this hard time.
Yeah.
How did you tackle the hard time? I mean,
I was taught from a very early age. We were talking about earlier about how much hard work you have to put into life. And I was fortunate in the sense that I've been brought up to work and work and work. So at times I've had 4, 5 jobs on the go at the same time. When I was a postman, you were able to do lots of overtime. I also started up a sunbed hire business with a friend of mine. We also put up aerials and satellites. I worked in a video store. So whatever I had to do to be able to bring the money in, to be able to keep the mortgage payments up to date, was really where I got to. And then by having a number of different businesses as well as my property income has enabled me to invest sensibly. Okay. Rather than, lots of people just do it in a whim, at a whim. You know, it's a good idea. I'll go and buy an apartment in Birmingham, or I'll go and buy an apartment in London. And they don't really think about what they're doing. They don't think about the risks that they're taking on. Whereas now, for the last 10 years, we've been showing people and teaching people.
Can I just take this call? There's a caller waiting. Hello, caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Please, what's your name? And can you tell us where you're calling from?
My name is Shamim, and I'm calling from Lancashire.
Okay.
And I would like to ask one of the questions of the gentleman about recruitment consultant business.
Sorry, could you repeat that question again?
You know, that in regard that recruitment consultancy business.
Okay.
Recruitment consultation.
Recruitment. We're not talking about recruitment at the moment. We're talking about property investment. I thank you very much. I think well, connected to the wrong caller. Sorry, can you?
Yeah, sure. So for the last 10 years, we've been helping people, teaching people how to get involved in the UK property market in a sensible, controlled way. Because it's not just about owning the property, it's about looking after the tenant, making sure that your property's kept up to standard, so you don't lose the quality tenant and end up with falling down in your rental income. So we teach people via a system, a program, an annual program, where people come and we show them how we do it, and we teach them to follow a step-by-step guide.
That's what you do.
That's what we do.
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, I'm going to come back and touch upon that a bit more. Why choose property over other investments?
Money, really. When I first started, you were able to get 100% residential mortgages, so saving up a deposit wasn't really necessary. You had to obviously pay your solicitor, your broker, your valuation fee, etc. So whereas the opportunity of buying stock, shares, or investing into restaurants or anything like that, for myself, I didn't have the money available. So really property was the only place that I could get involved with
so
my
you haven't had the money
income.
available, so you thought property was the best option?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other way around.
No. I've always found that providing that you're buying the right deal, there's always someone out there that will lend you the money to buy it.
Okay. How does someone start investing into the property market?
I would say, I mean, when I started as a landlord, it was really through circumstance. I bought my first property with a girlfriend, and then, as happens, you split up, and I ended up with the property. I ended
that's
up
good,
with,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out that way, does it?
I did have to buy her out, but so I ended up with the property as well as the property that I was living in. So I've now got a property that I need to do something with. So I stumbled into being a landlord. Whereas my own belief is that you shouldn't do that. You should take advice, you should get some form of training, you should get some help and support from other people who have done it. Because there are lots of things that can trip you up, and people can show you and teach you not to follow down the road of being tripped up, if you like. So what I would always recommend that people do now is take some, even if it's a small bit of training, a bit of understanding. It might just be from your local bank manager, it could be from your local estate agent, but take some advice before you buy the wrong property. Very simple to watch a TV show and think that's what I want to do, and then just go out there and do it and wish you'd never done it. So I think the real key is to take advice.
Take advice.
I think Mathew's he's hit a very key point in life, in property especially. He said the bank manager, you know, supported him, and there was a gentleman who did the finance. It's really important when you are growing in property business, commercial or residential, to have a good broker and to have a good bank support. If you have a good bank support, you can actually multiply your business. If you don't have a good bank support, then it's difficult. And the bank manager who is going to be supporting you, he needs to have a faith in you, and you have to demonstrate your faith that you can deliver his money back. And once you've done that chemistry with the bank manager and yourself, you will succeed in business. This is why when I start, I went to a bank manager, I won't mention the name of the company, and I said to him, I need to lend £150,000. And he straight away said to me, look, Mr. Ali, I've just lent you £50,000. You've started up a small business, and now you want to open £500,000 business. It can't happen. Don't run before you walk. And I said, okay, that is an advice I've told. Then I took some other advice from another bank manager, and I did manage to secure the money because I demonstrated what I'm going to do. So he lent me the money, and after 3 years later, the same bank manager came to me and he puts his hands up and said, look, you transform a £150,000 property into £500,000 property. And I opened my restaurant, Rupali, which was nationally recognized restaurant. And they said, well, you know, if you can do that, it's open-handed, we will lend you money wherever you want to go. And this is jing straight away. Then you can actually go and do whatever you want. But you need the support, and you have to demonstrate them. And I agree what Mathew said. You know, people, when they see these television shows, they wow, this is my cup of tea. If you don't do any research and you don't get any advice, you burn all your fingers.
As Mathew said, you know, you need to get the necessary training. And
absolutely.
Mathew is a great example, actually. You've been through the hurdles, you've been through the hard time, so you've learned from all the mistakes, and now your mission is to teach people and advise people going in the right direction. I mean, should anyone be allowed to be a landlord if they haven't got the experience? What's your opinion on that?
I think at the moment that's what the government are questioning, because obviously people have a lot of power when they become a landlord. If you own 30, 40 properties in the local area, you know, you have power over other people's lives, and if you're the wrong type of person, you're the wrong type of landlord, you could actually cause people quite some difficulty in their family life. I've been in some terrible properties where they've been very badly maintained, very badly looked after, and yet there are still tenants living there, and you know, and they're not being taken care of. So obviously we've seen over the last 10 years certainly things like the HMO Act come in, where you now have to have a licence if you want to run a property of multiple occupation.
Is that a new legislation, is it?
2007, so that's been around a while, but we're now starting to see, so as for instance in Gloucestershire, if you want to rent to tenants.
We're going to have to come back after the break and continue right from there, because it's very interesting, that part is. Viewers, we're going to come to a break and we're going to continue exactly from where we stopped. Thank you for watching. See you after the break.